Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's chat with the filmmakers behind the exciting new film, Spiked. The entire film was shot here in Tucson in Southern Arizona, and we were thrilled to have this fun group of people around. I also would say that since the filmmakers shot it during one of Tucson's pleasingly hot summers, we now consider them honorary Tucsonans. If you can survive one of our summers, you're in. My name is Peter Calanoti, and I'm the director of Film Tucson, and we assist film projects all around Southern Arizona. This presentation is being brought to you by Film Tucson and the Tucson Film and Music Festival, a long-running event here in Tucson for about 17 years, which, besides films about music, also screens contemporary films set in or about the desert region. And the story, which takes place in Spiked, fits that perfectly. Obviously, due to the pandemic, the Tucson Film and Music Festival has had to postpone their usual festivities, but they should be announcing some new events in the coming months. So be sure to follow Tucson Film and Music Festival on all their social media. A couple of quick announcements. We're glad that all of you have been renting the film Spike to watch before today's presentation. But for those of you who haven't, just be aware there's going to be some spoilers. Also, a quick reminder that we'll be taking questions from the audience towards the end of the discussion. And we'll be pulling your questions from the Q&A section below. It's there at the bottom of your screen. So send your questions for the filmmakers over there. Use the chat section just to talk amongst yourselves. The questions for the filmmakers should all be in the Q&A section. That's where we'll be pulling them from. I'm now going to introduce producer-director Michael Toubassi of Upstairs Films. He's the director of the Tucson Film and Music Festival, and he'll be conducting the interview from here on in. Take it away, Mike.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this special conversation with the folks behind the feature film Spiked. My name is Michael Toubassi, your host, and I'm pleased to introduce writer-director Juan Martinez Vera, producer Per Melita, and actress Danay García. Thank you guys for being here and spending time with us. A little bit about the film. Aidan Quinn, you might know him from Elementary and Legends of the Fall. And Danay García from Prison Break and Fear the Walking Dead, star in Spiked. It's an absorbing tale of a newspaper publisher standing up for the rights of the disenfranchised while battling a mysterious ailment threatening to derail his efforts. The film was released in March of 2021 by Gravitas Productions. And I'd like to start out the conversation by showing you guys the trailer. So, Peter was gonna roll it. Here you guys go.
Without anyone checking on them, cops can do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, hands right here, please.
Nita, the police public records have all they do.
When you get out of line,
Imagine what would happen if they were published.
put your hands on somebody.
You never told me we didn't have a warrant.
We had an anonymous tip.
Did we find drugs in his house?
No.
Most people who feel they were wronged by the police file a complaint. John Wilson started a newspaper.
You're trouble.
No trouble? What, it's just the FBI?
My officers are not corrupt.
I need medics and backup for traffic control.
We've been able to see that there is a number of injustices happening at the hands of the local police.
People in this town, they don't play nice, Ricky.
I found the names of the cops who ran over Olivares.
Mike? Yes, sir. Run the presses.
He's making us look corrupt, and he's publishing our officers' names.
José, queremos demandar a la policía, pero necesitamos testigos.
Federico merece justicia. ¿Quién se anima, hermanos?
Find us witnesses. You mess with my men, I will destroy that paper of yours.
We don't hold them accountable. No one will. This is America. We have the right to free press, and you can't stop us.
All right. Excellent. So congratulations, you guys, and congratulations, Juan, on this film.
Thank you.
Tell us what inspired you. What sparked it? Again, based on a true story, which I didn't mention before, but tell us what inspired the film.
I was doing research about the life of the character in the movie, John Wilson, and he started a newspaper, 20 years ago, where he denounced police brutality. And, I read the newspapers, and there was this story that really intrigued me about a migrant worker who was, killed by police officers, and all the events that ensued after that was just like, it touched me a lot, and I decided to make the story around that event. And, I think it has a lot of themes and, stories that are now currently very relevant. So, I was very inspired to do it because of that reason.
And Per, how did you come to select Tucson in Southern Arizona for the production?
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, just for clarifying, the film is inspired by true events as opposed to based on an actual true story. It's a compilation of a number of things that we then fictionalized and dramatized, because it covered the span of 20 years that we didn't have the budget to cover. So we came up with very creative, or I should say, very creative ways to condense it in a much shorter time span. The reason why we picked Tucson is quite simply because we wanted to stay true to the original events that happened in Arizona, particularly what happened 20 years ago with the original newspaper that inspired the entire newspaper angle of the story. And then the became very quickly apparent that in terms of the two major film centers in Arizona, there's Phoenix and Tucson, and quite honestly, it was the appeal of the locations. We went, we looked, and we liked, basically. And what we were able to find in terms of locations was what spoke to Juan the most, with regards to it being a good fit for the. After that, the choice was fairly simple. We knew that we wanted to make it work one way or the other, simply because the production value that Tucson and vicinity offered was so high.
Juan, tell us about your favorite locations, and you guys can both speak about how many locations, because the film really is. I mean, it's got so much around Southern Arizona.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the location that spoke to me the most was Bisbee. I didn't even have it in mind, and a friend of mine told me, "Oh, you should drive south. There's this little town by the mine. There's a mine next to it." And I was like, "What?" I drove 5 hours that day to see it, and I was like, "Okay, yes, this has to be the set, the location." And yeah, and I don't know exactly how many locations, but we did shoot between Tucson and Bisbee. And our schedule was so that we could, finish all scenes in one place, go to the next location, finish all the scenes, and move around. But Bisbee is magical. It's a very unique place.
In fact, if I may add to that, it's so magical that we changed the script for it.
Oh,
because
exactly.
in the original story, we were not taking into consideration a mine. But when we went to Bisbee and saw that there was a mine, we quickly adapted the story to around immigrant workers who worked in the mines, and it worked very well for us.
And I want to add to that when the actors because when we moved from Tucson to Bisbee, some actors went first and then I went last, but I could tell when the actors started arriving, because the text message was like, "This place is amazing. This is it." Like I could tell somebody was arriving. It's just really magical. I just wanted to add from the actor's perspective. Yeah. It's really awesome.
It's really classic indie filmmaking. It's where not only are you guided by a vision and a budget, but you pay close attention to what the film gods and the universe throws at you, and the film gods and the universe threw us Bisbee, and we incorporated that because it made so much artistic and also logical sense, logistical.
Yeah,
sense.
I think the film definitely embraced that, and it came through very nicely. I mean, that's totally great. And I think also just as far as you guys shooting in a place where some of the story was originally set. Did that also have an impact?
I mean, I think so. I think it's part of the culture. You know, the story is embedded in the border. There's very specific characters and relationships that happen in border towns. So I think definitely the world spoke a lot about the characters that lived in it, and I think it would have been a different movie if we would have shot this in any other part of the States.
Yeah.
I think
I want to get Danay into the conversation some more here. So we have a special clip we want to show. Juan, do you want to set this clip up for us?
Sure. This clip, it's you know, around the middle of the film. I won't give a lot of details for the people who haven't seen the movie, but it's basically an interrogation scene between Danay's character Diana and Aidan Quinn's character John, who go and visit this migrant, the father of one of the migrant workers, to ask for his help.
Okay, cool. All right, Peter, let's roll the clip. As soon as you have it ready.
Su diploma pudiera haber conseguido un mejor trabajo, pero él quería ayudar a la gente.
With his degree, he could have worked in a better job, but he wanted to improve the treatment of the workers. That's why he stayed in the mines.
So he was an organizer?
Estaba organizando un sindicato.
Sí. Apenas estaba empezando, pero no todos sabían.
He was getting started. Only Jose and the miners knew about his work. Jose, queremos demandar a la policía, pero necesitamos testigos.
Eso va a ser muy difícil. Aquí nadie confía en la policía.
It's not going to be easy. Immigrant miners don't trust the cops.
Cada rato arrestan a los inmigrantes sin hacer nada.
Many of them have been arrested without committing a crime.
Digo, solamente que usted pueda convencerlos.
Unless we can convince them.
Well, we're gonna have to.
Right. Excellent. That's such a great scene. It's gorgeously shot. Danay, you look great in there. Tell us about, so it's a very diverse cast. Obviously, you guys have local, some local actors, but also Aidan Quinn and Sal Lopez, two more veteran actors. Tell me about the experience, Danay, working with them and the cast.
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the Tucson Film Music Festival for having us. The moment I heard that this was kind of being prepared, I was the first one to say, yes, we have to do this. Thank you so much for making this happen. This is,
You're welcome.
I love this. Joining the film, for me, it was a no-brainer. When I got the script, I think I had this briefly conversation with Juan that, when I got to see, the police world in a situation in which they are obviously in control, and then we got the Latinx community, and then we have the press, those three things that basically rounded 2020 for us in a weird way, I think we all dealt with press, a lot of cops and the uncertainty of what's happening. I thought this film really, in a very beautiful way, touched so many points of kind of preparing us for what was coming in a very strange way. So for an actor, I kind of been so inclined to kind of tell stories that I feel like I can learn something, I can educate and entertain others. I have great respect for Per and Juan that, chose these projects to just see it through, and the actors that came. So joining this film was like already really exciting, and meeting the cast, meeting Juan, working, meeting Per, and seeing how they put together this movie, and getting to know Tucson on a deeper level. Like going to Bisbee was like, passing Tombstone. It's like the classics. Like you kind of feel that it's like what Per said. It's like a classic independent experience, kind of like that's what we went through. And I am, just really grateful to be part of it and to be able to tell a story from a perspective that we don't not normally get those projects. We just really don't. So it was really cool.
Per, tell us about the casting process. How did you get some of these people like Sal and Danay and Aidan?
Do you want to know the truth?
We always do.
We begged. No, the casting process was, I say that jokingly because every small indie doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of budget, so you always have to put anything on the table to make it attractive to the cast as possible. We were blessed to have a rock star casting director in Avi Kaufman, who does very, very big shows as well as indies, and she read the material and she said to me, Per, the projects that I gladly take a little bit of time and effort to do, even though I know that it's not going to be a payday for me. And it was Avi who brought us Danay, and it was Avi who brought us Sal and Aidan and whatnot. So the casting process was certainly intense because we didn't have a large window of time to because indies don't have the luxury of having that much time. But to circle back to what we were saying before, one of the reasons why we did choose Arizona and Tucson and the border is because we knew that if we wanted to make it interesting to the cast to come, it would have been a really hard thing to convince a professional actor to say, hey, come to Toronto and pretend that it's Arizona. Come to where and imagine that this is a border town because we can cheat it or VFX it or not. Instead, we realized that if we could offer to the cast, look, we're going to submerge you into this atmosphere where these subject matters are not just 20 years old, but they're current, that at least they could draw from that, and a certain amount of professional satisfaction and inspiration could be drawn from. And I don't want to say that we succeeded because I can't speak for our cast, but
well, it's an immersive experience. Being not, like you said, being in that type of location. So Juan, tell us about working with the cast. Is also some of the local, maybe were there some local actors you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say a good, besides the 5 or 6 lead actors, everybody else was local. We tried to bring as many local actors as possible. And I was pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of talent in Arizona, and I was extremely happy to be working with some of these actors that they blew me away on the audition. I thought it was going to be a close pool of actors because I was under the impression that it was a small town or whatnot, but there's a very large community of actors in Tucson and in Phoenix area. So I was very happy to have worked with a lot of actors from the area.
And Danay, working with Aidan Quinn and Sal Lopez, I mean, that scene, they're both so great. Tell us about working with him and as well as Sal Lopez, who I think really, for me, he's a bit of the heart of the film in a way.
He is the heart of the film. He's the one, he's the heart of the audience, he's what the audience feel. Like every time he shows up, you just want to fix this. You have this urge to make it right. And in his performance, every time I would have to do these translating scenes. I would just absorb everything he's saying and basically translating in English. And working with Aidan, by the way, we shot in the summer, which was extremely challenging for everybody that's been to. I mean, I'm from Cuba. I'm used to the heat, but oh my gosh,
right.
Like Well, you don't have an ocean, kind of like, breaking the heat out. You're like, oh, wow. But, we prevailed. But I have to say, working with the actors in general in this particular scene was so amazing. The moment I showed up, I started meeting them, at lunch or breakfast or whatever in our hotel, and we just became friends. Like even today, a week ago, we just text each other. We knew we were making something special, and circling back to Per, yes, when you bring a good story to actors, yes, of course, a location is a bonus, and you bring everything to the table to tell that story. There's a part of us, the creative side, that needs to do it. We have to do this. Like, it doesn't matter where you put us. It just becomes second nature to you become a soldier to tell the story, and that's really when our cast and crew kind of became one. Because our crew in Tucson, our local, they are like soldiers. They're like running around in this heat, and it made our work for actors so much easier. Like, if you need water, they know that we're like those tourists that come to make a movie in the summer, and they're like so used to it. They're like, you need water, you need Gatorade, you need coffee. Like, they were keeping me basically focused, and kudos to them. That it says a lot of who, the crew that kind of help us pull these performances in the circumstances. And the actors were, I love them. They are magical. They're really, Sal is like the heart of the film. Walter, he plays Bradford. He brings so much to the table, even though he's wearing, the villain. Aidan is like in between both worlds, and I was just able to kind of enjoy each one of them. And Didi was just amazing, and having Juan on top of this, directing us, and seeing him inspired by what we were bringing to the table, and letting us create, tell the stories from our angle. It was just really cool to have a director and writer being that, present with the actors. It's just very unusual. And Per, he just makes it happen. He's just there, like making it happen, just making sure the sun doesn't, go into the sunset. It's just
no. you're too kind, Danay. No, but I do want to echo what Danay just said about the crew. It was a really tireless group of people, and anecdotally, we shot the film right the summer before the pandemic happened, and then because the pandemic happened, we had to put our post-production process on hold.
Okay.
So we had to come back and do some additional photography during the pandemic. So we did both. We did the film as a little indie in normal times, and then we got to come back for 3 days at the end of the next summer to try to do our additional in pandemic conditions. And I cannot compliment Justin Crimebrink and Monsoon Productions enough for how, because at that time they were probably one of the first films in Arizona, or the first companies in Arizona to do something under pandemic conditions, and they did that flawlessly. They kept everybody.
They pull it off beautifully.
They paid particular attention to that needed to be paid attention to, and it was we owe not a small debt of gratitude to Justin for the film being complete.
That's great. Yeah, so it's like the added layer of the heat. Now they added a different layer of like COVID-19 protocols. So
we came back with like shields and masks, and playing the same characters in the same heat, and we were like, what just happened to us?
In fact, during additional photography, we were walking on set, and I had the definite impression that everybody was looking at me thinking, Per, the heat was not enough. You had to bring us back.
I know.
You had to make it worse.
Like, have we upset you in some way that you need to punish us? No, a great group of people, I have to say.
All right, so let's moving over to Juan. let's get that back to some of the story stuff. I guess I wanted to have you talk a little bit about, because you'd mentioned Border Town, about being a border town sort of film. As far as the climate goes currently, and again, Caja climate goes for the border town, how do you feel like the film, represents that as far as in the story? Do you, how's it reflecting the current climate?
I mean, when I wrote it, I didn't want it to be a political film. I wanted it to be more of a personal film, and I wanted to just, show the relationships of these characters in the border. And my intention was to show that, past politics, there's real tragedy, and when the community comes together to do justice, to do what's right, I think that was the point that I wanted to get across. Unfortunately, we're a very divided country right now. So I think, even when there's tragedies, things, everybody has a different perspective, and everybody's so divided that, I hope my film is a little bit of a unusual thing where everybody comes together to try to find justice and to try to find, something good, something good, because yeah, it is a very divided time, and there's I tried to put in some of that in the film, but my hope was to see this as an imaginary world where this could happen, and how do these characters interact to try to bring justice.
Yeah, being that, like you guys said, it's sort of historically based, but yet it still sort of reflects current situation. So but I do think and I feel that you are really successful in doing that and telling that story.
I think it caught us a bit by surprise, the truth, that after making the film, because the film predates some of the events that occurred on the border later, I think amongst ourselves, I remember speaking to Danay going,
I know.
Didn't we just shoot this? And
that this is when life imitates art, or art imitates life. That's when it becomes scary. That you look at each other, you're like, oh.
It was fortuitous that this happened, because I think that that lends the film an added layer of poignancy, because it just shows that even though these are old stories, they're also current stories, and that the human condition aspect of it transcends at the point in time when it happens, because it can reoccur at any given moment.
Okay, so we're gonna, in a few minutes here, we're gonna get to some of the audience Q&As. I see them rolling in, and I think there's lots of questions. I just want to get back just to Danay and Juan, maybe a quick, just something that you guys, learned or take away from this production that maybe you hadn't experienced on a previous film, or just something as far as Juan, directing in this location or doing this film. Was there something that you guys both can share as far as takeaways? Go ahead,
Danay, if you want to go first.
I've never experienced, and this is kind of like expanding on Per's what he was saying. I've never experienced that we are telling a story that we originally thought it's like, this has to be told. Like, we heard this, these issues are around, right? Without making it political, without making it like, listen, you have to change or whatever. I've never experienced that we're making a movie about something that happened 20 years ago. And it's so in my face that we haven't evolved from something like this. Like it became, like, I remember calling Juan in 2020 last year while we were in post-production, right before we reshoot our films. And we're like, I was telling Juan, oh my gosh, look what's happened with the BLM, the Black Lives Matters. And we just made a movie that it touched the Latinx, but the same issue. So I have never been so proud and so touched by how important stories are and how important it is to tell them, because this year has been such a it's been in my face, and I've never experienced that. And I'm very grateful and happy and glad that this movie is coming out today. It's meant to be out today for a huge reason. So I could not be more, more grateful that Juan decided to make this movie when he did, that Per decided to be like, it's the year, or those little decisions that led to us talking right now with our, the situation we're living. I feel like, we from the first time we were born, the first thing our parents did was read to us stories. Like, we learn through stories. And I feel like even though we're adults, that still is there in the subconscious. And being part of this movie has never felt, I've never felt so personal when it comes to our society today. So I've never had that before.
Beautifully said, beautifully said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, one of the things that I, as a filmmaker, experienced that was beautiful in this production was just how keeping your mind open and your eyes open during the actual shooting can make a huge difference. I was so happy that I was very flexible with locations and with, like, even in the casting process, I was very open to see actors who I didn't think even imagine would have been the role for the story. But once I really thought about it, I was like, he's great, So for me as a filmmaker, just making it a fluid process, just, not locking yourself into the script and not blinding yourself into saying, I have to do this story about this, and that, and this has to be my location. But, keeping yourself open to exploring every single thing, even with the actors, exploring different takes, different camera angles. A lot of directors go in with their shots and they don't analyze the location, and they don't see, perhaps this could be better if I do this. And I don't know, for me the experience was great from that point of view.
Cool. Let's look into some questions from the audience now. Are you guys ready? And again, anybody, Per, Juan, Danay, you guys feel free to all chime in, or whoever wants to start on it, asking it. I'll sort of look through here. All right, because we're getting lots. So thank you guys for posting these. Okay, our first one is the camera angles throughout the film seem to create intimate, close-knit ambience, eye level, small groups. What was the intention, and what other considerations were made in illustrating the story with respect to camera angles? So this is the shooter's question.
Right. I wish we had our cinematographers with us here, but I love close-ups. They're I love performances, and I always say, if you really want to see a performance, you have to be connected to the actors, and you have to see. And I just, I told my cinematographer, I know it's, it might be a lot of close-ups, but it's something that I'm fascinated with. I really like seeing the performance and reading everything the actor is doing and all the choices they're making. And so it did create a level of intimacy, but at the same time, once we realized, okay, we need to also have a balance. So for the extreme whites that you see in the film, that was the intention, to balance out a little bit of the close-ups that we were playing with and make sure we saw the environment and the world, which was beautiful. So there was that balance that we always try to keep in the telling of the story visually.
So this is based, I guess, on a journalist. Did you guys have a journalist? Here's another question coming. Helping with the subject matter of journalism in the film.
This might be a good opportunity to not forget one of the main reasons why the film got made. And I think an acknowledgement needs to go out to Joe Salvadell, who is the individual who single-handedly financed the film, who also had a big part of the decision of staying in Arizona, because he is an Arizonan and he was interested in making a film in Arizona. And that certainly contributed to the entire setup. But he was an endless source of guidance when it came down to all of the press and journalism aspect of it, because quite literally he went 20 years earlier, and it was a publication that he himself ran 20 years earlier, where a very similar event happened that served as the inspiration of the film. So we were extremely lucky not only to have his financial support, but also to have the support of his knowledge and his experience to when it came down to making creative decisions.
I got one for another sort of similar for Danay. You got any, working with Sal Lopez, you got any good Sal Lopez stories you want to share from set?
You know, when I left, I started saying "orale" all the time. Like, "Orale, orale, tonight, where do you come from?" "Oh, I just did this movie in Arizona." Like, Sal is like so contagious. Like he's such a spark. I mean, the reason why you can feel, you know, the heart in this movie is he really is, as a human, very kind, giving. I'm someone that is crazy about rehearsal, and you know, you're always very careful about other actors' process when it comes to, you know, work. Some people, they like to be spontaneous. Some people, they like to just run lines but not really act. And I'm always careful, and I just say, "Sal, would it be okay if we run lines?" Because I had to translate it twice. I want to make sure the rhythm is, "Oh, sure, orale." So I was like, "Orale." So we were like, you know, we worked those nuances of those scenes that, you know, you can read, because all my scenes, when it comes to journalism, you can really hear the story through Diana, because she's the one that translates everything in English. So the audience is actually hearing it from me. So he was such a giver. He's such a kind soul, and it's just a dream actor to work with. You know, we ended up rehearsing for like 2 hours and chatting, and I ended up saying "orale" for a month, you know, after, and it just says a lot about his, you know, his fantastic work ethic and incredible talent.
So did you guys miss the film festival circuit and having red carpet premieres? And we kind of touched on that.
These are tears of like.
Yeah, it was certainly hard, because as an independent film, that is the avenue where you finally get rewarded for all of the efforts. And unfortunately, the pandemic took that away, and we had to do that we could, because industry-wide it was very hard. Because I think one of the things that is really most important as filmmakers is to finally see the film screened with an audience, so that you can sit amongst them, engage their reactions, and without having that, it's that last cross-reference, that last check to see has our intention landed, has our vision crossed, and film festivals are also such great opportunities to then engage people in conversation. And it's that conversation that I think is so fundamental to the subject matter of the film, that we want to be a part of the issue being out there and people being made aware of it, that without festivals was much harder to achieve. But you know, we have Danay, and Danay is publicizing the film like I've never seen.
Like, I am in Cannes, you know, we just have to land there and everything will be done there.
So she has more than made up for the fact that we're not.
Yes. Well, it's important to have somebody kind of spearhead your social media grassroots effort. It seems like that's, you know, it is because of the pandemic, have to do more. Danay, tell us about some of the stuff you're doing on social media. Do you have a show or not a podcast, but like
you know, I wanted to say that I know what it takes, you know, during this hard, difficult times. You know, a movie, everybody would tell you, whoever makes a movie is like a child, right? And it really takes a child to raise it takes a village to raise a child. And it really does. I think everybody has to really put a lot into it. And nowadays we have been challenged with that task, and everybody has to step up to kind of see this child. It's what Per was saying is like, and I completely get it. I feel like watching it with an audience is like it's like closing the cycle, right? It's like, oh, because at the end we make this movie for the world. So getting an opportunity to watch it with like, a group of people, it's like, it's enough for us that we're like, in the heat at trying to make something work. And it's just, but for me, pushing this film to be out there is understanding the team effort that requires to make absolutely anything, and what it takes from actors, producers. We have to really come together to see this child out, and it was a no-brainer. And yes, the pandemic, you have to double down on that. You can't just show up on an interview anymore. You just have to be like, what can I do? Can we just like do something fun, like, and how can we put this out there? And yes, I'm working on a show called Fear the Walking Dead. I don't deal with I deal with the heat of Arizona, but everything is dirtier. I really miss the red carpet hair. I hope we can make it happen. Please. I would have loved to be in Arizona right now in the red carpet with you guys. Don't get me wrong. But
duly noted. We will not until we can make that happen.
Yes. But yes, I'm working on a show, Fear the Walking Dead, and on my time off, I do have this podcast in which I love talking about subjects like, Spiked, like what can we do to contribute. And I actually I moderated a panel with all the actors because of Spiked, and I love them so much. Everything they said, I've learned so much from them. Like Walter, Levinsky, Sal, Didi, Carlos, like each one of them, their angle, the way they registered the film as an artist was so inspiring. And that is in all our social media in Spiked Film. Like everybody has their that they had their little moment to say the reasons why they did it. And I know Juan watched it, and he was actually, you got them on your birthday, Juan. That was like I didn't know that.
Gift.
It was perfect. But I feel like we all learn from each other unless we open that conversation, and that was an opportunity to actually learn from this great group of people that made Spiked.
So Juan, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you have coming up like next? And we'll go around for everybody for this. What you have coming up, what you're working on or developing now?
Yeah, I'm working on a script. It's about immigration, and it's more of a coming of age story, very personal, inspired by events that I lived through. So it's a small little story, and hopefully it can be done pretty soon. But that's my baby right now.
Excellent. Small stories can be big hearts with small stories with big hearts. Per, what about you?
Right now I am in development on a film that is yet another inspired by true event story. It's a film that tells the real life story of a former U.S. Marine who, in the direct aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, was instrumental in bringing about 260 people to safety from a building that was surrounded by.
Wow.
It has similar components to it as Spiked. I'll just tell one anecdote about it. Is one of the ways in which this gentleman managed to get the attention of the helicopters to come and land on the roof of the building to bring people to safety, is to finally realize that he had to hide all of the black people, put all of the white people on the roof, so that when that happened, all of a sudden helicopters started bringing waters and supplies. So it's a similar story. It's a story that is set in the past, but that highlights issues that are as current today as they were. It's a little bit more complicated to do because it requires a flooded New Orleans that no longer exists, and on small budgets that requires a lot of creativity. So it might be quite some time before it gets out there, but we hope maybe sometime in 2022.
Okay. Excellent. I think we got time for just a couple more questions before we wrap up. I was kind of curious, Juan, if there were any, and again for all three of you, if you watched any movies that were made in Arizona or set in the desert, or that that were filmed in Arizona that kind of in preparation or to come to film in Tucson. Did you watch anything that?
No, I mean, I did watch a movie called Bisbee 17. It's a documentary that was made about Bisbee, and it was on Sundance, and it was fascinating to hear about the story behind the town. And I was just looking for films that were about the location, and I found a documentary, and boy, was I surprised how much history there's behind that town. And I give it to all the actors so that they sort of like also knew about the story, and the world became something different. It added something, I think, to how they felt about shooting in Bisbee. Yeah
no, that's an excellent film, and that's perfect one to really get context. So
yeah.
I got a question for Per. As far as the funding went, did you guys also do any crowdfunding or any other sourcing, and I guess what was the process leading up to Gravitas picking up the film?
No, uncustomarily for a low budget indie, we didn't do any crowdfunding. I think that is the one feather in our cap that we do not have, is that we didn't put a crowdfunding source together, and the film came into existence because of the love and support of the general public. We were very fortunate that our financier was interested in making the film, so we had one of funding, and that took a lot of pressure and worry from us. So with regards to Gravitas picking up the film, we worked with a sales representative that is actually local to Arizona. It's a company called Cut Entertainment, and because of their efforts, we were able to show the film to Gravitas. Gravitas liked it, and that's how it came to be. It again, as we were saying before, we didn't have film festivals to go to, so we had to quite literally go, and with the help of our sales agent, knock on every possible door, and Gravitas was one of the doors that actually opened and was interested in our film.
Okay. Somebody, one question we got was about a sequel. I was thinking, I don't know if a sequel is possible or not, but maybe would you want to get this group back together and put them in a new situation in Arizona?
Absolutely. I think it was a fantastic cast and a fantastic group, and I would die to do another film or even a series like Danay is saying. It would be pretty fun.
I think we have so much more to say. Can you imagine when Chief Colin finds out that one of her guys was lying to her? I would love to see her face.
No, I agree. I think that the story in and of itself lends itself because one of the things that we try to do that it's certainly not unique, but we try to make it unique to our film, is to not offer sort of Hollywood fairy tale-ish type of resolutions to do everything. So there isn't a resolution to this issue because it's an ongoing conversation. So I think that because of the subject matter, there certainly would be a great opportunity to with the same characters expand on how this community would have dealt with the aftermath of
yeah.
Who
Do
knows?
they really learn? Do they really, how would they operate now?
Exactly. But I think that we would find a lot of willing participants to come back and as they say, put the team together again. Or put the band back together. That's
put the band back together. And Danay, I know you said Fear of the Walking Dead. Any other things that you can share as far as upcoming project, things you're reading, things you're interested in developing or working on?
I'm working on the show, which airs every Sunday right now, but we're starting to shoot season 7. I have a movie coming out called Baby Money that it has nothing to do. It's so different than Spiked. I'm basically a pregnant woman that was not ready to have a baby and has to find the money. Obviously, everything goes wrong, and it's kind of like it has a comedy in it. So that should be coming out over the summer. And also because of the pandemic, I started developing this podcast in which I get to interview. I have this beautiful community called La Familia that was born out of, the darkest time, me doing karaoke and chats with them. And I just wanted to expand that momentum that we created into a podcast because I was back to work and I couldn't do it. 3 times a week I was doing karaoke and chats online. I was singing in 2 languages. It was crazy. But we created something really special. So the podcast is something that is an episode comes out every other week, or basically every week. So like today I have one come out today. So it's been really nice to, I think, as artists,
and where's the best place for people to
creative?
Where's the best place for people to find that podcast?
It's official DanayGarcia.com is my website, or Danay Garcia podcast in YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, iCast, iRadio, 7 platforms that you can find it. And it's all about treating your life like a garden. Just basically it's a constant, right? But I wanted to say that, it has been hearing about, Juan's coming project, Per's coming project, the actual need to expand on this project. It says a lot about, the people that came together for this movie. We have this need to keep creating and to keep, and I'm excited to see what Juan has next, and what Per has next, what the other actors are going to do next, because I feel like we are so inclined to tell stories that really change something within us, and having artists around you that have that desire, it's a luxury, especially nowadays. It's inspiring and it's fun.
It's the kind of thing when you make a movie, like you said, it becomes from your family.
Yeah.
Family.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I really wish, and I'm going to put it out there, that a red carpet would be fun with like a group hug. Like families do, right?
Exactly. Juan, last words from you, Juan, on?
No, I just want to say that Arizona and Tucson are amazing places to make films, and I really hope more and more filmmakers go and try and look at the locations and take a chance. And I think it's a fantastic place. So I hope you guys get more and many more films your way.
It's beautiful.
Okay, I want to thank Juan Martinez Vera, Per Melita, and Danay García for chatting with us today about Spiked. The film is available for streaming and on demand now. So you can go to their website for more information as far as where you can see it. Juan or Per, it's available. Which are the main places that are available? iTunes or Amazon?
Yeah, pretty much anywhere you can rent the film. Amazon, iTunes, you name it.
Okay. Also, a quick note: the Tucson Film Music Festival's call for entries is now open. We're accepting features and short films at Film Freeway, And for a limited time, you can use the code SPIKED, and that'll get you a discount on your entry. So if you happen to be listening, just type in SPIKED and you'll get a discount on your entry. I want to thank Peter Calinoti and Film Tucson for co-hosting today. It's been a lot of fun. I really miss Tucson and seeing everybody, and hope to get back into the theater and see everyone's faces again. So I guess at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Peter. And again, thank you everybody for sharing part of your Saturday with us. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate the filmmakers and you guys coming and talking about Spiked.
Yeah, I'm just going to close by saying thanks again to the filmmakers for coming to Tucson, choosing Tucson as your location. We're so glad to have you, and we look forward to having you back. Anytime you're in Tucson, give a call to me and I'll buy lunch. And all of you that joined us today, thank you for joining us. If you haven't rented Spiked yet, please do so. You're going to really enjoy it. Thanks so much, everybody, and see you at the next event.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.